Yes. There she.
Hello and welcome back to Global Desi Women. I'm your host, Arti Salanki, and super excited as this is our second season, first episode for 2025. Yay! And I'm joined by my co-host, Bhavana Shelley, a seasoned consultant who always brings valuable insights. And our special guest today is Bhavna Luthra, who also has been coming as a co-host multiple times on our show. But today we have the honor and opportunity to talk to her about mental health. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist. Bhavna has not only has worked with individual and families to navigate their mental health journeys, but she also shares her passion for helping South Asian communities overcome mental health challenges. Today, we are diving into how mental health is viewed and addressed within our community and the unique struggle and strengths that come with it. We will explore how we, as women, sisters, mothers, daughters, and partners, we can be better support each other in our mental and emotional well being. So, without further ado, let's get started and welcome, ladies. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So I am so excited, Bhavna. You are today sitting in the hot seat as a guest and not as our co host. And this is a wonderful opportunity for us and our listeners to know a little bit more about you and the amazing and fantastic job that you do in changing people's lives. And, before we get started into all the nitty gritty of the whole, you know, the mental health thing, I want to know how did you get started with it? Because I think that is very important to know because there has to be some reason that you chose this career path.
I know that's the hardest question. I don't like the attention on myself. I wrote to her, please don't ask me anything. But, but then I said, yes, I have to speak about that because this is so important. So I was in the career of finance. That was my first career. I have a degree in economics and finance, and I was in that area doing tax planning, investments. So
Oh,
that was
wow.
my initial start. I guess after having both of my children, young mother, and I saw that there was lack of support as a South Asian new mom, and I had only the books to read was written by all the Western culture perspective
Mm,
of parenting, and I was struggling that. And then I also had sort of like I felt like there was a, how would I say, like some sort of like having young kids two together, be the gap of two. And I was struggling with that, like how to be a good mother, what my mother was, how she raised me was very different. I have to do this here. The books I was reading was felt very overwhelming, thinking that I am maybe not doing the right job.
mm,
So second guessing myself about how to feed them, how to take care of them, how to take them to these mothers groups. It just felt so overwhelming. So I started reading a lot of books about parenting, and I felt like short in the knowledge. So I had somehow I was always wanted to do my MBA. So I thought, okay, maybe while I'm at home, I can start my MBA alongside. But then I realized that's not what I really want to do. I don't know how it started. From there, I started taking some courses here and there about psychology.
oh, wow.
There I was seeing myself dropping out of like idea of doing my MBA to marriage and family therapy, So it was
Wow.
just sort of happened naturally. I think that was my calling.
I was just
And
about to say that it's
yeah.
always the calling that it takes you to that path, and then you just have to trust the process and just go for it.
Yeah, so here I was, and it was much lengthier, longer process than just doing MBA in 1.5 to 6 years of
Yeah.
training program. And so I became licensed marriage and family therapist with licensed professional counselor. So I hold 2 licenses and many other trainings in specialties. So it's just been a journey. And I think if nothing else, it has changed me. It has changed my outlook on life, outlook how to be a better person, better mother, better
Yeah.
everything. My own relationship with people. I think if I had not done this, I would not have gone on to the self-growth journey. So
Right.
there it is. I am here.
That's amazing. Yeah. And you have been doing it for many years, right? 20 plus years that you've been.
Yes, close to about 19 years. Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Thank you. So I was young mom, so it just took me 6 years of then practicing. I was
Yeah.
very young, so I think I'm glad I did it when I did it. I
Yeah.
see people start even later. So I
Right.
had a lot of miles now, a lot of wisdom in the area field. I still think I have so much more to go
Yeah.
and so much more knowledge. Yes.
Yeah, and like you said, not just those 2 licenses. I think you also mentioned something. I know on our lunch conversation we were talking, and I think you also mentioned something about the yoga. You also do.
Yes, I'm trauma-informed yoga therapist. So I
Mm,
do yoga with my patients, clients who have faced PTSD, complex trauma,
Mm.
and how we store trauma in our body. So it's a very, very somatic, psychosomatic stuff. So it really helps people using their body movement to release the, emotions.
yeah,
Mm.
Very powerful tool. And I went into, I first had my yoga training, and then I thought, oh, I started exploring how can I incorporate this in my work with my mental health patients. So there
yeah,
it was.
and
It's all.
that shows, the uh, your your I would say, the way you want to work with your patients, right? The love for that, that you have, and that's why you look for other ways of how you can incorporate this to your therapy or that to your therapy, and that shows in your work. That's how, I guess, I'm trying to say, is makes you different from other people. So that's
And
fantastic.
I think being a South Asian and many people, I think it added another tool to work with also South Asian and of
Mm.
course with mainstream community that when I say I incorporate yoga, a South Asian can resonate with this saying,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I can see myself like maybe this is the only way I can help. They're not verbalizing their mental health concerns. So we sometimes start from yoga and then
Yeah,
we go into the talk therapy.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So Bhavna, when you say family therapy, so can you describe like the type of specialty in what kind of topic that you generally have those clients that come to you with the family
Not just
therapy?
divorce, right? It's also some other things.
Yes, so for individuals, we see that depression and anxiety, common work-life balance,
Mm.
lot of challenges with something growing up, people face some traumatic events. So working through that with individuals, but with families, I have had one time a family of 17 people in the room, but one patient was one, but then I said, I want you to bring your family that
Mm.
who are your support system. So I thought, okay, both. I mean, his parents were divorced, so he was 17-year-old. So he thought he was dealing with some addiction and behavior issues. So he brought both sets of parents, grandparents, sibling, their spouses. So it was really
Wow.
interesting. I
Wow.
had 17 people. So I see mental health a person struggling with mental health. It's not that one person's illness.
Mm.
There is a family involved who
Yeah.
has either contributed in some way to the illness or they could come as a support. So I see
Right.
it when I take the history of somebody is struggling, I take their birth history. how their pregnancy, how when their mother was pregnant, and to their birthing process. So I think it can go as far back how a person's life. So when I
Wow.
in the family therapy, like you asked, I see families dealing with families who are blended families, step families, and one person is dealing with either some abuse, like drug addiction, or just dealing with so much in the families,
Yeah.
like
Right.
conflicts. So
Because sometimes what happens if there is a one person who is experiencing the mental health issues, it's also the families who have to deal with that person. Even though those people needs to get educated how to cope with some of the mood swings, some of the, you know, the nuances that comes with surrounding situations with the patient that you have in the house. I guess that's important to have a combined therapy. Is that
very
is
true.
that what you find?
Yeah, so like you just said, with families, I see one person is of course, we have to decide which one is the client. Sometimes when couples even come, and it's interesting when through the insurance, we have to actually give the diagnosis to one patient. We cannot diagnose two people. That's the saddest part. And that's always been a struggle for me. And I think it's continued to be even to this day when I see couples that I say, I have to diagnose one of them so the insurance can reimburse. So I try to stay away from the insurance part when I see couples because I just don't want to put labels that he has a bipolar, he has a borderline, because that's the only way insurance reimburse. So that happens in couple, but even if when families having a conflict, we always still also have to see one person who has the struggling issue, and then we see the family. Like interestingly, like when I see couples and they said the mother-in-law is the problem, is causing the tension with South Asian families. I see that a lot. And then I said, oh, we could do family session. So they would sometimes, oh, can I bring my mother? And I said, no. When it comes to couples, it's a couple therapy. Uh, no parent involved because you're really changing the dynamic of the session, because we're trying to resolve and what bringing the couples together, not really bringing more issues in the midst of it, because we don't want to resolve that stuff. Once they become strong, they can feel strong enough to handle the stuff happening outside in the family. I work with that nuclear part, and I've had the mother-in-laws coming into the sessions too.
That must be some drama, right?
When it's really necessary, but it's just it really, I've never seen a good outcome from that. So
And my curiosity would be, when you're doing sessions, how do people really start opening up? Like, to me, kind of like, if someone comes to you as a patient, you don't know them, they don't know you, right? But it must take a skill for you to get things out of their heads and be open with you. How do you, reach out? How do you do that?
Yes. So initially, when somebody approaches, I give them 20 to 30 minutes. I never interrupt them. It's like, oh, 20 minutes, it's up. So I give them at least 30 minutes to kind of assess. And I give them, like we call it consultation. So to see that if we both are right fit for each other. And so when they call, they tell me this is what's going on. I don't know, you could call it intuitions, I don't know, gift, however you want to say it. I can really sense it after maybe the experience of so many years. I can see that what's really happening in that situation or company. They don't. So 30 minutes is enough for me to assess, even if it's an individual coming for therapy or families coming or couples coming. I can really sense it where it's going to be. So I usually say, okay, it's better that we do individual or we do couples. I kind of give them around it. Initially, they'll say, I just want to come myself. But now, after so many years, I can say, it'd be better if you bring your spouse with you. It work.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be more helpful.
Do you
Yes.
think that South Asian, specifically South Asian men, women, they hesitate to go for the therapy?
Yes, even to this day, even though there's so much talks about therapy and mental health, concerns, people more aware. I think it's still our community still has the stigma,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
especially when I see couples, most of the time, let's say if husband calls, then he'll say, "My wife is the problem. This is what's happening." Like he will call, then she's the problem. If she calls, then he's the problem. So it's just nobody wants to take on that, saying, yes, if there's something happening between both of us, we both have something to contribute that we're
Right,
struggling.
So
right, right.
then how do we start breaking down those barriers, because we need to get that stigma out of our community. And what do you think would be a good way to break down those barriers? More conversation
I
or
think
more?
more conversations, understanding the self. I always say the Gestalt therapy, we use like understanding the self.
Yeah.
How we talk about, I mean, we are the first culture who will really talk about mindfulness, meditation. And what is meditation? What is mindfulness? Being aware of your own self. And
Mm.
it's when we're talking about being aware of ourselves, then that means we should be aware of our lacks, our shortcomings, how we want to grow. But when I see in therapy, it's like I'm perfect. Fix
Mm.
everybody around me. So I think yes, even though we have all these books and even our scriptures even talk about those things, but when it comes to mental health, it's like the scary word, like, oh, we don't struggle in
Yeah.
our community. We are
Right, right.
very family oriented, we are supportive of each other, we have a good resilience, and we raise our children with the resilience, all those things I hear.
Yeah.
So yes, we have a long way to go because we don't have the open communication on our
Yeah.
dinner table.
And
Uh,
especially when they feel the pressure, right, to maintain cultural expectations and or
mhm,
family honor, and they don't want to feel like, oh my God. I feel like a lot of times they take it as it's like a bad thing. It's not gonna look good upon, and they feel so much fearful about talking. And
mhm,
whereas it should be the opposite, where it should be more conversation about it and more talked openly about it and not be fearful,
mhm,
because at the end of the day, it's the support system that's going to get you through all of this, right? And like you said, the breaking down the stigma, and I think the open conversation, not just among our not just with you as a therapist, but also among the family, among the
mhm.
community, is so important.
Yeah, so that brings me that I do emotion coaching. I have done so my first book I read was early in my career was Emotional Intelligence, my
Mm.
favorite book. So I think that really shifted my perceptions about how we work through emotions. So then from there, I went into the John Gottman's work, John and Julie Gottman. So they have written books on emotion coaching your children. So I think that's where my journey started. That's when I first
Mm.
got into my career, because reason I chose it because I loved what they were doing, like cueing into children's emotion, validating them, and accepting whatever they have to present to you. Like if they're
Mm.
sad, then just sit with their sadness, not telling them, don't be sad, you know,
Yeah.
it's okay. The
Mm.
you have so much better than others. And rather saying, what can I do to remove this, take the sadness away, and say,
Mm.
it's okay to be sad. Let them sit with sadness. Don't fix their sadness, and let
Mm.
them come with the solutions, whatever making them sad. What I see in our South Asian community when I work with them is they are either ready to fix it, or they're saying, no, it's not that bad, or
Yeah.
diminishing their feelings. So I think that's where I do a lot of work with parents, young parents, That's one of the things I tell them, just let it be. Don't focus on their IQ. Like,
Yeah.
gotta be intelligent. Their IQ has to be good. They gotta be in chess. They gotta be in dance. They gotta be in volleyball. They gotta be in this, have them be part of all these clubs. And that's where my struggle started. Like, I don't want my kids to do all this. This is too overwhelming. And that's when I really realized that I think this is where our, being that, like when we came, right, we're kind of the second generation. So, and then having to achieve all, be all, you can do it.
Yeah.
There's how the NASA logo was, a failure is not an option.
That's enough.
So I see that, and I had that thing in my head too. Like,
Right,
I got to achieve financial planning, this, that. And then when I really got into this, and I was like, no, that's not the way it works.
right.
That I want to raise emotionally healthy children, I gotta work. I accept them who they are with their show like lacking.
Yeah.
So I think that's where emotion coaching is so important at talking about emotions at very young age with the children, and let them recognize it, that it's okay. I can be sad. It's okay.
Mm.
Sadness is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Depression, being low is not a bad thing. Yes, if I sit with depression for 3 months, yes, I need help. It's okay. I can get help, right?
Right.
And I see that like it's now our community is coming forward, but we're not really openly talking about it. Just like if we have
Yeah.
diabetes or heart conditions, we openly say it, I have this, but
Yeah.
when it's still a struggle,
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, one thing uh, with the Asian communities, like you were saying about the kids, and I was like, when they're sad or something, we usually hear like, snap out of it, just come on, move, step out. We
Yeah.
kind of tend to say that very easily, not thinking now that when you're saying all this, it makes me feel like, oh my God, yeah, it's so true. Because I think even I might have said so
Oh
many times
yeah.
to my kids, like, come on, get over it, just
Yeah.
snap out of it.
We all are culprit of that.
Yeah.
Or shove something under the rug, and that's something that we are very good at.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, it's okay, it doesn't matter. Like, don't pull it up, or don't open the can of worm, because that creates more of unnecessary chaos,
Mhm.
unnecessary arguments, or whatever, and we don't talk about it. So I think it's healthy to talk about it. Another thing with the taboo around going through the therapist or reaching out to some sort of help is also, in our South Asian community, considered like, oh, there must be something mentally wrong with this person,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest scare, I think, our
Mhm.
community have, that they don't reach out for help or support, even if they truly need it. And
Yeah, they very easily label a person
label,
just
yeah.
by saying that,
Mhm.
just knowing that they need some help doesn't generally mean that they are cuckoo, but
Yeah.
we
Mhm.
easily label them, and very not knowing or trying to understand what exactly is going through with that person or with that family, or what the situation is. I feel like that is one of the things we need to really understand, that you have to put yourself in that person's shoes to be able to see what they're going through. And instead of just labeling that person, just if you can't help, I would always say that just keep your mouth shut and just stay away,
Right.
but
I mean, lately we don't hear it, but I know when my kids were in high school, there were a couple of incidents. South Asian families, kids, they were not well, and I don't know if the parents that were not able to detect it, if they weren't well, or they never talked about it. But unfortunately, then the events happens with those kids, and they take certain actions that, it's
it's
really
a
bad
little
for
too
everybody.
late. Yeah,
It's
it's
little
a
too
too late
late.
at that
Mhm.
time.
The So I think awareness, mental health awareness is very important for reaching out. And someone like Bhavna can help them understand, what is going on with
Mhm.
these
With
kind.
our families were we didn't talk about emotions, our generation. Our parents didn't talk about it. Not that I'm saying they did something wrong, that was just the way it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we didn't have the tools, right? They were not like offered to us. We didn't know what to do with it. We just sucked it up,
Yep.
Yeah.
moved on. So what I'm saying is I started my work before I became a therapist. That was one of the things in the part of my interview when I went for interview for the program. That was one of the things was asked, have you ever been in a therapy? And I was like, I read a lot of books. No, you need to be in therapy. I said, okay. And that was my journey. I had to be, they said, you have to experience, you have to be on the other side to become
Right.
a therapist. So it was a work I had to go through. And I thought, oh, I don't have an issue. I don't have anything going on pressing right now. Boy, yes, there is always a work.
Yes, yes.
So we have
And
to
I
see it.
think, yeah, and like you said, it is, I think everybody it's a work in progress, right? It doesn't matter. It's just that maybe we don't have a bigger issue that we need somebody's help, but even on
Mhm.
day-to-day life, something that happens along the way, we have that issue, but we kind of talk out with our partner or with our kids or something, but we resolve it with among ourselves, right? But
Yes.
we still have that issue, and we need their input, we need their guidance. Okay, like, what do you think this is going on? What do you think about this? And then that's the way we kind of keep going with our life,
Mhm.
and we go move forward. But there are times when we are stuck, and that's the time
Yes,
when we
it's the
need help.
stuckness. It's the stuckness part. I think we have to know that when we run out of everything,
Hmm.
like I'm working with one client, she has gone through meditation, so many meditation, like training, initiations, and this, and the yoga, and everything she's tried. And now she's my client. And she said, no, I just realized I needed to get it out of my system. I've been holding
Mm.
meditation, no offense to meditation. I meditate, and I think it's very powerful too. But
Yeah.
sometimes we just have to cut
Yep.
it, get it
Get
out of
it
our
out.
Yep.
system.
Yeah.
We've been holding, and that's what I say. That's where trauma informed yoga come in, because we hold our emotions in our body. It's
Yeah.
very somatic work. So we can incorporate those type. I do EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing. It's a long name, but it's just also, like moving the finger, and kind of like, not like hypnotism, but just sort of kind of focusing on your trauma and just kind of letting it release. So there are different tools also in
Mm.
there. It's not just talk therapy, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
therapists, which I
So,
think that what would fit them. And so I don't want to lose a train of thought, like how our parents were not able to talk to us about emotions, and we didn't know how to bring it up to our children because
Right.
it was not there offered to us. And now here we are, our children are coming in with telling us, and we're saying, what do I do with this?
mhm,
Right? We are doing this, repeating the same pattern what our parents did. Okay,
Mm.
it'll pass, things will get better.
better. Mhm.
Do meditation or talk to your friend, just kind of, or maybe sometime taking them to some spiritual leader person,
Mm.
or getting their horoscope done, and then say, oh, by January things will get better, so do this puja. And I see all kind of things on
Yeah.
my therapy room.
Yes.
I have gone through all that. Nothing is bad, but
Yeah.
sometimes you just need to talk it out with somebody who doesn't know you, who won't judge you, and who
Yeah.
might have the right tools for you. And
Yeah.
that's the difference. The therapy is that, nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah.
Is
And a
just
lot of times, like you said, it's getting out of your system, because a lot of times, like, for example, for me, if I don't like confrontations, I don't like arguing with people, I don't like to get into all the, you know, arguments and getting to the place where it makes me very uneasy. So I don't like that. But at the same time, I feel like there are so many times that people come and say something. I'm a human too, and it hurts, right? But I don't like to get into like an argument, or I don't like to face that and say upfront anything that might hurt them, right?
Mhm.
Because I feel words are very powerful and you should be very wise on using your words. But because of the way I feel I am, a lot of times it may be where people kind of take advantage of, or maybe not even advantage, but maybe people think I'm stupid and they just come and say whatever they want to. But then I'm like, it takes me a while to, just swallow it down and like cool it down. Like you said, the meditation and just getting my head off. But maybe I need to, anytime I feel like that, maybe I need to call you up and get it out of my
Get it
system.
out. It's better to
But
get it out this.
is that a good, as a therapist, is that good for a mental health purposes? Is that good what I'm doing? Like just not getting into the argument, not getting into any confrontations, but just, or the reason I'm saying this is because it's not like I like to keep all my relationships really well. I don't like to be the bad person, right? I don't like to be where I don't want to be somebody that has hurt me be the same way to that same person, because then there's no difference between that person and me, right?
Yeah.
That's how I see myself. But then there are
Is
times,
it impacting you?
yeah,
Like,
there are times that does impact me and very deeply it impacts me.
mhm.
But yet I don't feel that urge of saying it to that person or anybody that has hurt me. Like, okay, hey, you don't need to say this to me, or I understand this, I'm getting hurt, or whatever. But I just want to point this out because I feel like there might be a lot of people like me who,
When we can't hurt others, we hurt ourselves.
yeah,
It's the baggage that you carry.
Yes. So
that
when
is
we
so true.
can't hurt others, we hurt ourselves.
Yeah.
So it is going somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it is urge, but it's just as a woman, we are trained, brainwashed, whatever you want to call it, to be nice.
Yes.
But it's also a spiritual thing, right? Because for me, it is more of the
Later, it becomes
spiritual path.
spiritual because that's where you find your answers for being kind and be accepting, and all that goes side by it. But initially, it's culturally, we are, as a woman, we've been told to be
Yep.
Yeah.
to be our we are earth.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's suck it up and move on.
Yeah.
That's right.
Be very grounded, be nurturing, be kind, be humble. It all applies to us.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we put the face up and we move on.
Move
Yeah.
on.
What are
Yeah.
we doing in the process? If we are internalizing, and that manifests into a lot of, you know, physical
Yeah.
elements, mental elements. It's elements that's going to happen. It's
Yeah.
why 30-year-old are having breast cancer, why there have people are having in their 20s blood pressures and diabetes. All those
Hmm.
things are happening at young age
Yeah.
because we are internalizing. And I think up was COVID, during COVID, we became more isolated and we internalized a lot more. So
Yeah.
that's why we see now a big, just like a blast of mental health concern because we put it so much inside and now
Yeah.
we're ready to get it out.
And it's all
So,
the stress and depression and everything caused just, I think the mental, one of our episodes we've talked before as well, the mental health affects our physical health so much
mhm.
that we don't realize that.
I mean,
And
we're getting banded of with a lot of things. People, I mean, health industry is growing. Like a lot of people are
yeah,
focusing on physical health. We're putting a lot of bandage,
yeah,
unless we process our emotions, what we're sitting with it. We're
yeah,
putting bandage by going to the gym. Good, go to the gym, but also process your emotions somehow with somebody, could be a friend or could be a family member, and could be reading a book and understanding the self, how I can regulate my emotions. I think that's a powerful thing. Young people
Mhm.
are struggling with emotional regulation.
Yeah.
What it
Yeah.
is. And
Yeah.
left and right, young people are getting diagnosed with bipolar, borderline, and even more scary stuff, right? And they're getting a lot more prescription drugs. And I think there's so many we can really take that. They don't have to get that route. I think it's really, if we learn young people, we have to start working with them earlier. I said
Earlier. Yeah.
very young age, but even if younger people who are in colleges, I mean, I didn't talk about it, but I have worked in school system. I worked in a university setting. I was working in University of Houston, a counseling department with medical students and pharmacy students. So high IQ professionals, and the emotional health was like really kaput. So I have worked with all age population. I have worked in psych units. I worked in a substance abuse treatment center. So I've seen it all. And I
Yeah.
am trained in perinatal mental health, which is like with mothers, new young mothers with depression and anxiety. So I run that group nationwide. So what I'm saying is that after working with a different population, I learned that how much people really don't talk about mental health and how it is in every age and stage. You
Yeah.
can
Mm.
Yeah.
challenges. I've
Yeah.
seen as young of a clients 3-year-old
Wow.
who had what we call bedwetting, and he was 3 to 5 when I worked. He was 3.5, and when I worked in a school system, they have the 3-year-old programs, and then I start seeing the family. But there was a lot of stuff was happening in family, and that's what was
Mm.
causing all these issues.
Mm.
Yeah.
Age
Yeah.
5.
So,
So the thing.
so
Go
what
ahead.
what advice would you have for South Indian mothers who are juggling mental health concerns while, caring about their children, their families, and what advice would you give to those mothers?
Finding the me time.
Yeah,
Finding the me
absolutely.
time, finding a friend who you can talk to and be vulnerable. Don't feel shame in if you are lacking to be a good
Mm.
mother, a good wife, not able to please your partner in bed, not able to
Yeah.
give them attention, and not able to be there for your parent or in-laws or whatever else, which is societal. We expect of us to be perfect in every role. So we have knowing that it's okay. I lack it, and I'm okay. I accept myself, who I
Yeah.
are, who I am, and then finding a person to talk to. It doesn't have to be therapist. First start with just a friend, finding the group. Like you shared with me, so many groups are in our community. And like I was saying, back in the time when I had kids, there was no such thing, social media, nothing. We had to
Nothing.
just go to the
Nothing.
library and figure out some moms who were hanging out in the
Yep.
playgrounds and become their friend
Yeah,
because
and that too, we had to be very careful because who you open up with that back then, because it was like that person might know somebody else, that might know somebody else, that might come back to our own family and say, "Hey, your daughter-in-law was saying this about
very true. Yes. Seen it all, done it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yes, it is not easy being a young mother and being isolated and just being playing the role of a
Yeah,
parent. It's tough.
especially new mothers, they have so much emotion. There's a lot of emotion going on. Their hormones are up and down, and they're trying to care for the new baby, and then there's trying to manage work and life. And that's one of the other thing, work life balance. It's like we have to do everything,
Mhm.
and it does stress us out. It does, where there are days when we feel like, oh my god, this is enough is enough. And I think that's the point, or we shouldn't wait for that point. Actually, we should realize
Mhm.
this beforehand and understand that we have our own, we have to care about our own self, we have to be kind to our own self, and just take that breath and just chill for a minute. That's, it's okay. The world is not going to end if you just sit down and not worry about the dishes in the sink or not worry
Mhm.
about something for a minute. It's okay. It's
Yes.
completely
And
fine.
just like we find play date for our children, we should find dates with our friends, date with your partner, having somebody letting that go of that. You don't have to be clinging with your children, or children don't have to cling with you all the time, and
Yeah.
leaving them for with someone, caretaker, and then you could go for time, dinner with your partner,
Yeah.
so you get time to get ready and just
Mhm.
focus on yourself. And it's hard for new mothers. I see that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So how can we, it still brings me, the question is that how can we foster a culture of openness around health, the mental health, with the younger generations in our community, right? Because we talked about the mothers, we talked about how, we grew up, how we as adults are coping with it or
Mhm.
dealing with that. But what would you say for the younger generation? How, what is your opinion in that?
How can we work with it? So as for again, it's never late. It's
Yeah.
something like what you're doing this work as a bringing, is touching so many women, and they are parent of somebody, that's
Yeah.
how it works. And hopefully they'll share with their partner and friends. So that way it's just a chain reaction, right?
Yeah.
And we have to more and more talk about it in different places, open first starting from home, but
Yeah.
talking with our young adult children, like
Mm.
what's going on. Like in my home, that's how I did it. Like when we had dinner time, that was a rule. Nobody talks, because you should be mindful eating. That was one of the things. After dinner, we will sit for 10, 15 minutes and just not just asking how was your day, like how's you doing in school. It was more about how are you doing? Like, I
Yeah.
would phrase it differently. We even had like emotion chart. Like, if you don't want to talk about it, you could just put there like this coin and tell this is how you're feeling. And then whenever they're ready, no pressure. That was one of the things I learned. Never pressure your children into even talking. If they're not
Mm.
ready, they're not ready. Just
Yeah.
asking them, how are you feeling? Like, where are your emotions today?
Yeah.
Right? And if you're okay, you want to share today, you can share today. If you're not ready, we can talk about it tomorrow. Do you want me to check on you? That ask their permission. That's one of the things we have to teach them. They are in charge.
Mm.
They are in control. But when they are not in control, when they don't have control of their emotions, then they can manage. They know they can tell us they can manage. They need us. And I have seen that with my children and people I know in families, close friends and families, then that this was what I shared with them. Just let them be for some time. Just if they say not feeling good, just take it as that
Mm.
and check on them and never forget about it. That's
Yeah.
another thing. We check on them and then we get busy with other stuff and we forget. And especially young adults, they are in children, they're in college students, they struggle a lot more because
Mm.
they have so much peer pressure, right? When I
Mm.
was working in university, I saw that they were struggling a lot because they didn't want to share everything with their parents. They were not doing well academically, or they had a breakup, with their partner, and that was going on. Everything would be happening at the same time, right? They are struggling with their friendships, all that stuff, away from family, not having
Yeah.
enough food,
Yep.
right? Financially, all those things were there for them. And they want to grow up just like their parents say, you can do it because their parents have done it.
Yeah.
Right.
So they think they don't want to share with their family everything because they want to show they got it.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's where I come in and I was like, oh, it's okay if you don't have it, so right. But no,
And
my
and that is so different than what what we've, like you said, what we've grown up with. It now, listening to all of this, I feel like, oh my God, yeah, that's so true. But I've never really thought of it that way. Like, I guess we were programmed the way our parents have brought us up. We were programmed that way. So we were like, we were repeating everything that how we were brought up.
Yes.
Like,
You know, how many of you have seen moms pack up the lunch or food for week at a time and taking to their children? I was one of those moms. But then when I go, I have just gone to UT and to see my son and come go the same day and come back the same day, right?
yeah,
Just to drop the food, just
yeah,
to sit
yep,
and listen to him, right? And but food was just a way to get to,
a way to get, yeah,
right? To have them
Right.
talk to you. And that was what a lot of mom did that. Sometimes just dropping the food and saying, if you
yeah,
drop the food, just say, I'm coming, just need 15 minutes of your time, right?
Yeah.
Just to
yeah.
fill me in, fill my
I've
cup.
I've driven
Do
all the
something
way
for
to
me.
Austin for lunch. I've driven all the way to Austin to for just lunch. I
Lunch.
would go, I'd drive in the morning. There were days when I would feel like, okay, I think I haven't really had time to talk to them. And then I would just call them up at the college and say, I'm coming for lunch. I would drive in the morning, have lunch, spend some time with them. And then 4 o'clock, I would drive back from Austin and get here at night. And it was
Yeah.
like, I've done those, those a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
of times.
No,
We
that's
we we
the
just
communication. Communication is so, and the other thing before I forget, we are aware that there's a increase in the suicide rate among South Asian young population. I
Yep.
really want to at least touch on it today because
Yeah.
that's a growing concern and why it's happening. We're still trying to figure that out. Something is missing, something we're
Mhm.
missing out that why they feel isolated. And I
Yeah.
think it's the work of, as a parent, we all have to do that, something when it's not their fault if they are not feeling mentally well.
Yeah.
right.
It's
Yeah.
not their fault. First, we have to take that and have that understanding, not saying what's wrong, like what did I do wrong, like taking it also as a parent, feeling guilty or blaming something or some
Mm.
situation or blaming yourself that, or, putting it on somebody else that they caused it. Just saying that this is what it is. It's a lot of combination of different factors, and that's what happening, and just taking it as that one situation at a time, not saying, oh, it's just like it's something in the air or something in the university they're at or
Yeah.
some friends they're with. It's just knowing that we can just have that communication and offering them that this is what we can do for you, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Communication, keeping that, even if they get upset with you, there are days they're just yelling at you and they blame you for everything, just don't close the door, right?
Yeah.
That's what I want to tell every parent, that don't close the door. Even if they're struggling, they call you names, whatever it is, just bear it. This is what they need to be heard,
Yeah.
and they might be okay just after that one. And don't talk back saying we can fix it for you or fix this way yourself.
Yeah.
No, and just send them the professional way because it's the best thing at that time when they're struggling.
Yeah.
And
And
get
it's,
yourself professional help as well, because sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
hurtful, right?
Very true.
The other person really doesn't mean it because they're going through those challenges, and they could say whatever, but then whoever is taking that, right, they also need help,
yeah.
because it's hurtful
Mhm.
sometimes, to, even though that they're kids, you understand everything, it's still, at the end of the day, you're also human, as what Arti
Yes.
said.
And that's
It
why
hurts.
family therapy is very powerful, because if
Yeah.
one person is struggling, not saying they are the problem, it's the family is sometimes needs to go through the helping
Mm.
one person. So that's
Right.
where family therapy come in. I highly encourage, if some one person is struggling, don't just put it all on one person.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like you said, Bhavna, that maybe all the kid need is like just to be heard, and they're
Mhm.
just pouring out their emotions. They're just taking out whatever they have in their heart or whatever they're going through, and then they're
Mhm.
just outbursting it on the parent. But and
Mhm.
sometimes it happens like without any rhyme or reason. The kid might be yelling at you saying, hey, blah 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 blah, and why you did this, and this is all your fault, and da 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 da. And that's what it is. But that's maybe because it's not you are the reason, but maybe it's because what they're going through, and
Going
they
through.
don't know where to take that emotions out, and then they're just coming at you and just throwing it at you,
Mhm.
but it's a very good point that you made, that at that point the parent need to
Yes,
remember to
because their
just,
emotional intelligence has been hijacked.
yeah.
And then you feel like you're going to give them the tools and you give them the suggestion and share your
Yeah.
wisdom. Not going to work.
No.
Not
They
gonna
need
work.
to learn the tool to regulate themselves, and that sometimes is just staying calm and hear them out and just saying, I understand. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry you are going through it. Let me know if I can, something I can change in myself to help
Yeah.
me. Because somehow I'm not even saying you're struggling, not even say the word anything, just saying, what, let me know if I can change in me something which would help. But
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
here. Just
Wow.
throw it all at me. And once they get calm and come together, be centered, like that could happen the same day or next day or next day. Just wait for that time and just stay present with
Yeah.
open mind,
Yeah, see,
open.
but that's the thing. So, see, words are so powerful. Like the way you said it, it makes so much difference. And, using the right word is so important in situations like this, because like you said, you don't want to say like you're struggling. No, you don't want to say the person, like in our Indian, what is the saying about, you don't say, like you don't pinpoint somebody their weaknesses, like because that's not the way you address it.
Yes, yes.
So it's
Validation, the word I say, validate, validate, validate. Just say,
yeah.
yes, if they say, I'm hurting, life is this, saying the F word, saying this, cursing
Yeah.
this person. I get it. I understand. Because whoever it is, I'm not just saying the young people, anybody
I
who's
think it's even with the
anybody.
adults, we go through the same
We go
thing.
through.
Like if,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because if one person is angry and the second person comes jumps right at it, then it goes, I don't know
Mhm.
where, So one person has to keep it cool and say, okay, I got it.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes you hear half of it, half is going above you. It's okay. You don't need
Yeah.
to understand it, everything anyway.
Yeah.
Time.
For me, it's always like if it's funny because my kids get very irritated by that. But I don't know. I have, like I said before, I don't like confrontations. I don't like arguments. And if my kids get mad at me or something is going on, and if they're yelling at the phone when we are talking over the phone, and I would be like, okay, I'll just hang up for now. I'll just hang up and I just let it go. I just walk out of the conversation. Like maybe an hour, 2 hours later, I'll call them back and then we're all cool and then we'll talk. But they
Mhm.
get irritated by that. Well, not at that particular time, but they'll tell me later saying that,
Mhm.
Mom, you have such a bad habit because, we're like so mad at you and then you hang up on us. And then I'm like, yeah, but I, I don't want to hear that. You are not in the position to listen to me, and so I feel like I just want to walk out at that point. And when
Mhm.
you are really calm and you're ready to talk, I call you back, don't I? I always
Mhm.
call you back and listen to you, but you need to be at that level at that time.
We all have attachment styles. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's one thing I really wanted to talk about, which goes hands on hands with the emotion coaching is attachment. We have different attachment styles. So there's a secure attachment, there's avoidant attachment, there is a disorganized attachment, right? So we
Yeah.
have anxious attachment, so secure, insecure, avoidant, anxious, and disorganized. So we have different sort of attachment styles. So how we were parented, how we formed our mind about people, how we attach to people, and that's how we react to the world, you
Yeah.
know? So if we grew up feeling secure and nurtured, right? Then we are more secure, and we are able to connect with people accordingly. When we
Yeah.
are having difficulty with communications and we avoid conflict, we have a different attachment style, right? So we have to see that where it started, where it manifested, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how we deal with situations, how we tackle conflicts, it all comes from that, right?
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
like I said, I
And
done my
I
work.
think,
I
yeah.
learned that which is my attachment style. And does that mean it stays that way? No. Once we become the awareness, we do our work, we realize we can become from insecure or disorganized or anxious to secure. What I see in the world right now, we all are so anxiously becoming more younger and younger people as we are going younger generations to Gen Z Alpha, all that stuff, however they name millennials, they have a different attachment style based on the world, the
Mhm.
way the things environment is changing, not just in our case, our attachment style was just with our parents, grandparents, friends, very little world we live in, right?
Yeah.
And now they have not, they're living with parents and grandparents, they're living with so much more on the phone, like we are attached to this, so their
Yeah.
attachment style is coming from what they see here. So we are more and becoming raising very anxious attached young population kids, right? So you will see a lot more concern of conflict with conflict, how they
Yeah.
would handle the conflict. So this is so important. I don't think any book has been written much. Oh, there is a new book written actually called Anxiety Anxious Generation. You know, we call it Gen Z and this and that. They call it
Mm.
anxiety generation, anxious generation. I have that book. So the point is, this is where we're going. There's the
Yeah.
John Bowlby was the one written about attachment. I encourage every parent to read on it because he wrote it in 50s or 60s, and it's still to
Wow.
this day is very true that it's same, but it's just
Mm.
knowing that there was a secure, there was a disorganized, but now we're seeing all anxious, people
Unconscious. Yeah.
attached. So when we were talking about yourself, and it just came to me, I think it's so important, everybody, to know this style, and so that way we can work around it. We can say, oh, this is where I get very like you were saying, anxious or
Yeah.
avoidant, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the work I can do, right, to
And
become more.
also it's about recognizing, what your flaws are, right? Like for me, I know what affects me, like how
Mhm.
I kind of like tend to deal with problems, or how I kind of stay away from the problems or avoid any conflicts. And so I know where my flaws are, and I think it's also important to recognize those flaws, because sometimes we don't really see that. We don't
Mhm.
want to see that because we feel like, okay, no, this is perfect. You know,
Yeah. Well,
my
work
world is
is
perfect. But
your work
but
is, but it
those
might not
are,
seem perfect to others because they are anxious
yeah,
around your
yeah,
avoidant. They're becoming anxious from your avoidant.
yeah,
See how I see that parents nowadays, when they're working and they have dropped the kids, and then kids are trying to get more connected, or the other way around, parents are trying to get connected and then
yeah,
children are like, no, no, I don't want to. So we are in the run of life, and how we at that time coming together, like in the emotion intelligence, say when somebody is trying to connect to you, you respond to the same manner, right? But
mm,
it's so difficult to connect to that level nowadays, you know
yeah,
because we're just always in hurry. Like, what's
yeah,
next? Like,
mm,
I'm doing this or you're doing this. We never come in the sync.
yeah,
Even in the conversation, even like today,
yeah,
you may be having a different thought process, and maybe I'll be answering different because we are in
yeah,
our own sync of thoughts.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and most of it with
It's like you said, with the technology growing every day, with the phone and everything, and it's becoming, even for work wise, it is becoming more and more important to give your 100% to what you're doing at a single time, because we are all thinking that multitasking is the way to go. we
Mhm.
should be doing 10 things at a time and be great at all 10 things, which I feel is complete BS, because no, you cannot do that. If you try to do one thing with 100% you give to that one thing, you would be able to do more better things and more quicker things that you can while under instead of doing 10 things at a time.
Yes.
So,
But
I
it's the
mean,
noise. It's the noise we are responding to because the world is
yeah,
functioning that way. What's
right.
next? Are you
yeah,
And
here to lose 30 pounds? Hey, are you ready to do this? It's that, are you ready? Are you ready? "Oh, I'm ready. I should be ready for this. No, I should be doing this because
yeah.
the world is putting that noise out there,
out
right?
there.
So
Yep,
we have to shut down. So like you said, you fast, do the moon work, right?
yep.
Silently. So it's same way. Like there's my friends, I hear like this week, some people I know, they were doing fasting for 3 days, 72 hours of water, being
Mm,
water. So we have to sankalpa, we have to do sankalpa like, okay, this month I'm going to be away from the technology. I'm not going to be on a social media. I'm now
yeah,
going to be binging onto this thing. So if we shut down the noise, then we can focus more on ourselves and people near and dear one to us. Because if we say we're going to be conquering the world and still be the perfect one at home, impossible.
no,
No,
that's not possible.
not
Yeah,
possible.
that
So
is
no
so
one
true.
can conquer it all. So I think this is where families have to see that when you are saying, what can we do? Is that with younger families or even college going or whatever, even having adult children with their children, like you will be in that shoe soon,
Yeah,
like having family meetings. Like I've started with my siblings, we started this Zoom meeting because we know we are different. Like I have a sister who has 3-year-old. So I know her life is different than my life. I have
yeah,
adult children. So we have to set up a time which works best for her because she has putting the kid to the bed. So we just meet once a week on the Zoom because we live different part of the country. So we just come together on Sunday at 11 a.m. because when the 3-year-old is the best. My other sister has 10-year-old twins. So, we have very different age,
age groups.
people. I have adult children. Other sister has 10-year-old twin, and my other sister has like
Oh, wow.
grandchild. So it's just we are like all over the
Wow.
place. So then we have to see our parents are their best. What time? My dad doesn't get out of bed till 11 a.m. So we set 11 a.m. on Sunday, Zoom meeting for the family. That's
That's so
what we have to
nice.
do. What's happening? We can be what I can do, for
Yeah,
you. Like we are very open in sharing how we can be supportive to each other as collectively, as big 15, 20 people in the family versus 4 people in the family. To
yeah.
this day, we have our 4 people, my nuclear unit. We meet also on Zoom because my children live in different places. So we meet
Yeah.
on Zoom on, Saturday or something. We set every week different time and we talk every night too, but it's just coming together in one
One
screen,
screen.
different
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah,
The siblings can be supportive to each other. So
yeah,
we have to create that if it's possible thanks to technology, but we have to utilize it in a
yeah.
good way, right?
Yeah, to make it as a family time is so important. It is, it is. But anyways, it is like we can talk on this and get so much insights from you. It's never ending. but but
Thank
I
you. Thank you
truly
so much.
truly
Thank
appreciate.
you for giving me platform because I will be working with you soon because I am in the process of doing some nonprofit, starting nonprofit involving the mental health. That's my goal.
Oh, wow.
That's where I'm heading as I'm thinking more and more to start something as a nonprofit because it's not affordable for people sometimes, or they
Mhm.
don't feel comfortable going out of their, you know, they want
Yeah,
to the therapist who is culturally the same way. So you have the same belief system. So yeah, so it just my journey it's not done yet,
no,
I'm
no.
just barely starting because
Mm.
there is a great need in our community to have the awareness of mental health and knowing that it's not something bad.
Yeah,
Like, don't think it is a bad thing happening. It's something, maybe it's a reset. See it
yeah,
as a reset, starting over, starting your journey self journey. I think that's how people should see it, as not saying mental health is a bad thing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bhavna, for sharing your expertise and insights with us today. And it's deeply been enlightening conversation. And I know that our listeners will take away so much valuable information on how we can better support each other when it comes to mental health. And as a women, we often find ourselves balancing so many roles, like I said before, mothers, daughters, sisters, partners. And it's important to remember taking care of our own mental health is as essential as taking care of others. The discussion we've had today are so important, and I hope it inspires all of you to continue to break down the stigma and have an open conversation and prioritize your mental well being and your family. So make it a priority to, like Bhavna said, make it a time to talk to your family, your parents, your kids, your partner. Set a time where you actually get to really know and understand their emotional being. So thank you
I
all.
want
And
to give up my email if somebody wants to reach out,
yes,
just in
we
case.
will definitely put all your
Yes.
information on our podcast description. The contact information will be there so you can reach out to Bhavna. And Bhavna not only sees patients in Texas, but she sees all over the US, I believe, right? She can definitely help you out. So thank you all to our listeners for tuning in to Global Desi Women. And don't forget to subscribe, share this episode with others who may benefit from it, and leave us a review. And if you have a story to share or your journey you would like to share, then contact us. We would love to hear from you and love to hear your feedback. So until next time, take care of yourself and be kind to yourself and others. Thank you.
Thank you.